Hello everyone, welcome back to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi, dated 24th September 2025. Today again we will be discussing some important topics that has appeared in today's The Hindu and the Indian Express newspapers, which are very relevant for your examination. In the initial two articles, we have included two mains practice questions which will be highly beneficial for your upcoming mains examination. So in our first topic, we will look at the key takeaways from India's vaccination efforts, focusing on challenges faced and the innovations adopted. In our second topic, we'll explore the recent wave of global recognition for Palestine, its implication and the broader geopolitical landscape. After that, in our simplified section, we'll take up 5 articles and we'll try to explain them in simplest language possible to enrich your understanding of the newspapers. Additionally, we have also incorporated some prelims pointers which is going to be very crucial for your upcoming prelims and mains examinations. So have a look on them also and stay tuned. Let's start with the first topic, that is lessons from India's vaccination drive. The context of this topic is that in today's The Hindu newspaper, an editorial or a write-up has appeared that is focusing on overall vaccination landscape as well as the measures that are needed to improve the vaccination coverage in India. And this particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 2, health, government policies and interventions, and you can also relate it with GS paper 3, biotechnology part. Now what exactly is a vaccine? So vaccine is a biological substance that is designed to protect humans from bacterial or viral infections. It provides immunity against that kind of infections that may happen in future. Now if you look into this data, that as per Global TB Report 2024 in India, in year 2023, there were around 3,23,000 TB related deaths. And this TB is caused by a bacteria with the name Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And it is the BCG vaccine that provides immunity against these infections related to tuberculosis. What is the mechanism that vaccines follow? So based on the methods that the vaccine manufacturing follows, it can be categorized into mRNA vaccine or live attenuated virus, etc. Now what happens? A weak or dead form of germ is introduced, or certain parts of germ are introduced in the human bodies, and that sparks the immune response, as well as it also helps in developing the antibodies that remember this live or dead germ that was introduced in the human body. Now what will happen in future if a stronger germ or that microorganism is attacking human body will remember this germ. The antibodies will help in fighting that germ. Antibodies are the fighting entities in the human bodies. So antibodies will be fighting off the germ if that stronger germ will be invading human body in future out of any infection that may happen in future. Also, if you look into the history of vaccine, in 16th century, we find first mention of preventative inoculations in writing in China for the first time, and that was related to smallpox. What is inoculations? It is an act of implanting any microorganism into the human body. Also, in 1796, Englishman Edward Jenner, he introduces the first scientific method of the vaccination, and that is the reason he is also called as father of vaccinology. In 1853, smallpox vaccination became mandatory in the UK. Why? Because the mortality related to smallpox was much higher. Out of 10 people, around 3 people were dying because of the smallpox. In 20th century, there were around 300 to 500 million smallpox related deaths in overall world. Also in year 1802, for the first time, it was the smallpox vaccine that was introduced in India. After that, in 1885, it is the Frenchman Louis Pasteur who develops first live virus vaccine, that was rabies vaccine. After that, in 1892 to 1898, it was the first virus that was discovered, and initially it was discovered by Dmitry Ivanovsky. After that, from 1920 to 1926, development of tuberculosis, diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough vaccines happened, and these vaccines are still in use, and especially they are also part of universal immunization program of India. Then from 1944, it was the first vaccine that was developed against the flu, and then in 1950 to 1960, first combination vaccines, that mix of various vaccines, the vaccines that can fight multiple infections, that is diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough, that was introduced, that was used, and this is still in use. Then in 1955, the inactivated polio vaccine that was created by US physician Jonas Salk, and this was first given as a shot. After that, OPV vaccine for the the polio was also introduced, and this has helped in eliminating or eradicating type 2 and type 3 polio virus, and type 1 is still prevalent, endemic to Afghanistan and Pakistan. Also in 1986 it was the first genetically engineered vaccine, and that was for the disease hepatitis B. From 2021, after the COVID-19 pandemic came in year 2020. So in 2021, Pfizer, BioNTech and Moderna COVID vaccine are the first mRNA vaccine where we are only taking some of the components from the virus rather than taking whole virus itself. And this was also approved for the human use. Also historically, it was the first time during the COVID-19 pandemic, during that time, the vaccines were developed in record time. Now let's look into the key milestone in the history of vaccination in India. So in year 1802, it was the smallpox vaccination that began for the first time, and it was started from Bombay and Madras presidency by using the Jenner's method. Till then, Indians were living with these kind of disease for centuries. Also, it appeared in epidemic form in various southern states. Also in 1899, it was the plague lab that was established that helped in pioneering the plague and the cholera vaccines. Also around 1805, the Shah Alam, the Mughal emperor, ensured that his grandchildren were also vaccinated. We need to understand that the colonial government and the people who were employed in India, they were also at the risk of getting infected, and that is the reason that they were more concerned that if Indian population will remain immune for these particular disease, they will be also at lower risk for getting infected. In 1948, the BCG vaccine was introduced, and it was for the tuberculosis. Production began in Guindy in Madras. In 1978, WHO backed expanded program for immunization started, and it was for BCG, DPT, OPV and typhoid, that is oral polio vaccine. In 1985, the universal immunization program started with much wider coverage, as well as it ensured the free vaccines for all infant, including the measles. In 1994, the pulse polio campaign started, and nationwide OPV campaign to eradicate polio, as well as various influencers, various personalities were taken on board to ensure that the campaign remains very popular. In 2011, the last polio case was reported, as well as now it is eradicated from India. In 2016, the rotavirus vaccine was also added in the universal immunization program. Under this, the vaccines are available nationally against 11 diseases. These are diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, polio, measles, rubella, rotavirus, hepatitis B, meningitis, severe form of childhood tuberculosis, as well as pneumonia. Also, vaccine is available subnationally against one disease in certain areas, that is Japanese encephalitis, that is JE vaccine, that is provided only in the endemic districts where the cases of JE virus are much higher. In 2017, the MR and PCV vaccines introduced, measles, rubella and vaccines for pneumonia. In 2021, the COVID-19 vaccination begins. Mass roll of Covishield, that is manufactured by Serum Institute of India, and Covaxin, that was developed by Bharat Biotech, under world's largest vaccine campaign was done. Along with that, at the later stage, CoWIN platform, UWIN platform was also introduced that helps in keeping a track on the beneficiaries. In 2023, again, the first intranasal COVID vaccine by Bharat Biotech was also started. Along with that, another vaccine, M21 Matrix, that is being manufactured by the Serum Institute of India against the malaria infections. Now let's look into the challenges in India's immunization efforts. First of all, the disrupted supply chains during the COVID-19. That during the 2020-21 lockdowns, drop in routine immunization sessions, especially with more focus on the COVID-19, because we have limited manpower, and when they were already engaged in the COVID-19 vaccinations, these vaccines which were under the UIP, they took a backseat. Along with that, the vaccination development took a time because the research and development architecture was not that good. Along with that, the cold storage facilities, the transportation facilities for the vaccination, the storage houses were not that good. The PHC, CHC centers were not aware how to handle these kind of vaccines, and that led to lot of wastages of these vaccines. Also, the vaccine hesitancy and the misinformation. The misinformation during the COVID-19 or even in the initial stage that these vaccines can cause infertility, or these vaccines can lead to severe form of diseases or certain other symptoms that were related to these vaccines. Also, the geographic and population barriers. For example, as per National Family Health Survey 5, that was for 2019-20, the full immunization coverage in states like Nagaland was 57% and in Arunachal Pradesh was 65%. The difficult terrain, the geographical barriers, that is lack of proper roads, torrential rainfall, etc., also hinders the full immunization coverage. Time and again you would have seen various pictures where ASHA and ANM workers are crossing the rivers, are taking difficult roads to reach any of the villages which are at far reach. Also, the shortage of trained and health workers. As per various surveys, there are around 6 lakh trained workers that are needed to get full immunization coverage. The accredited social health activist, ASHA workers, and auxiliary nurse and midwives, ANM, who are overburdened because there are a lot of other works that are designated for them, that they need to ensure that the institutional delivery of females are happening. Along with that, various surveys are done by them, and that the money or the wages that they get, the salaries that they get, they are very less, and majority of their earnings are in the form of incentives which are not fixed. And that is the reason in last few years we have seen various ASHA related protests in states like Karnataka, Kerala, etc., because they were demanding social security measures, better pay, fixed working hours, as well as at least basic infrastructure like the toilet facilities, etc., in PHC and CHC centers. Also, the low awareness and the cultural resistance. For example, religious and social misconceptions, that initially it was said that these vaccines where a foreign agent is being introduced in human body is against the religious scriptures. It is not allowed by the religion, and that is the reason there were people who were hesitant to take these vaccines, as well as it was one of the major hindrance in the immunization coverage. Along with that, if you look into during COVID time, that these ASHA workers and NM were subjected to violence because they were promoting vaccination, they were ensuring vaccination. That violence was only because of the cultural resistance, stereotyping, as well as low awareness. Also, the data gap and the tracking limitation, that before the CoWIN and UWIN platform, there was no mechanism where with the help of which we can cover the population, with the help of which we can identify that which is the population which is in need of vaccination, how much population is covered, as well as there was no mechanism or there was no oversight mechanism with the help of which the subsequent vaccination can be given to the people. For example, for the case of infant itself, after a child takes birth, for next 3 years almost, within a few duration or after duration, there are various vaccines that are given. But now, earlier there were no mechanism with the help of which the health activist or the health professionals can track that what is the progress, whether the infant was taking the vaccine properly or not. But now this UWIN platform will help in complete vaccination record for pregnant women and children for 0 to 16 years, and this data is available in 11 Indian languages. And as of 15 December 2024, it is 7.90 crore beneficiaries that are registered, 29.22 crore vaccine doses are administered, and 1.3 crore vaccination sessions held. And initially it was mostly paper based, as well as it was very difficult to keep that data, and the loss of data was also happening. But with the digital integration, now it has been much easier to keep that data in a safe format. What are the measures that are needed to address the underlying challenges? So first of all, supply and cold chain that needs to be made robust. That will help in reducing the losses of vaccines that are happening. Along with that, the expansion of cold storage points, digital cold chain monitoring, vaccine wastages, that needs to be maintained. But for example, blockchain technology can be used to identify in the whole supply chain of vaccine at what place the pollution happened or infection happened or the wastage happened, and that hole can be plugged. Also, the vaccine hesitancy, the campaigns from the local leaders, especially from the actors or from the politicians or certain other influencers like social media influencers. For example, recently against the E20 petrol, the blending of petrol, there was a campaign that was probably funded by the government of India. Various influencers on the social media supported this idea of E20. Similarly, the campaigns against the vaccine hesitancy can also be done. For example, our honorable Prime Minister also took a shot of vaccine, and that also motivated certain other people to take the COVID-19 vaccine. Along with that, the religious influencers, when they will be promoting any kind of vaccine, that will also help in tackling the religious misconceptions. Also, reaching the remote areas, tailored micro planning, decentralized approach, the drones, etc. can be used. Along with that, bottom to top planning, that planning according to the needs, that whether the local level organizations, NGOs, civil society organizations can be kept on board, that can actually help in improving the immunization coverage. Along with that, healthcare workforce, that is incentive for the frontline workers, because they are at the risk of the infection. The ASHA and the ANM workers who were ensuring the vaccination, they were also at the risk of the infection. So these frontline workers should be given more incentives. And then community awareness, that is school drives, because schools are the stages of secondary socializations. Primary socialization is happening at home itself. So when child will understand what is the importance of vaccine, they will be also spreading that message, plus they will be also not hesitant to take the shots of the vaccines. Also with the folk media and door-to-door outreach by the ASHA and the ANM workers. Then the digital tracking, privacy compliant digital platforms. For example, earlier there were reports that the COVID data that was also not very immune. There were some reports related to the privacy related issues on the COVID platform. They needs to be addressed. People data needs to be ensured properly, as also said by the BN Shri Krishna committee. Also, India need to expand the budget. For example, for 2025-26, 99,858.56 crore is the money that is allocated for the health, and it is around 1.8% of the GDP. And as per National Health Policy 2017, our target is 2.5% of GDP, and as of now we are less as against that target of 2.5% as per National Health Policy 2017. Also, if you look into the data of some other major countries, in China they are spending around 7% of total GDP. In USA they are spending around 17% of their total GDP. So if we will increase the budget on the health and especially on the preventive care, that is immunization coverage, etc., that will also help in increasing the productivity of people, and that will also contribute to overall the economic growth. Also, by 2030, the immunization agenda aims to reduce by 50% the number of children that is missing out on all vaccines, achieve 90% coverage for essential vaccines that is given in childhood and adolescence, introduce 500 new vaccines in low and middle income countries, and especially with the support from the private players like Serum Institute. Along with that, India's vaccine mastery, etc., has been also very instrumental in expanding the immunization coverage in whole world. And this is a mains practice question that you people can write from this topic. Next topic is recognizing the Palestinian state. The context of this topic is that recently several countries including UK, Australia, France, Canada and others officially recognized Palestine as a state. And this particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 2, bilateral groupings and agreements, effects of policies and politics of countries on India's interest, and grouping and agreements involving India and or affecting India's interest. Now, what is the legal criteria for state? So, as per Montevideo Convention on Rights and Duties of States that came in 1933, it provides that state as a person of international law should possess the following qualification. That is a permanent population, that is there in the case of Palestine, a defined territory, a government that is capable of maintaining effective control over the corresponding territory, that is they are able to manage the law and order situation, they are able to govern, they are able to provide proper governance, the ability to conduct international relation with the other states like trade, etc. What is the current status of Palestine? So, the Palestinian Authority actually administers the part of West Bank, East Jerusalem as well as the parts of Gaza Strip. This is Gaza Strip, this is Jerusalem. Also, recognition, the current recognition which is being given by various countries will improve the diplomatic status, but in the practical sense or on the ground, the things will not change much. For example, the full sovereign control is lacking with the Palestinian state. Israel is controlling majority of the borders, key infrastructures. For example, Rafah crossing, Philadelphia corridor, Netzarim corridor, etc. are majorly controlled by Israel also. Also, if you look into this
evolution, how it happened in 1897, it was for the first time that Zionism seeks to establish a home for Jewish people in Palestine secured under public law. Also in year 1917, during after the World War I, under the Balfour Declaration, United Kingdom Foreign Secretary Arthur James Balfour approves the establishment of a national home for Jews in Palestine state. So this is the first time where the Israel or a home for Jews came into the picture. In 1946, this map demonstrates that 90% of land belongs to Palestinian, and these were certain areas which were given to Jews only. But during this period, Jewish settlers had paid for most of the land they occupied. They were buying the lands from the Palestinian people. In 1947, after the UN partition plan, UN General Assembly initiates a plan to separate Western Palestine into two states. While Jewish leaders accept, the Palestinian leaders reject the plan, resulting in uprising. And because these UN General Partition plan gave a lot of area to Israel, and that is the reason protests started in the erstwhile state of Palestine. After that, in 1948 to 49, Arab-Israeli war that happened, and after this, the community declares itself independent in new state of Israel, and neighboring Arab states then intervened militarily, precipitating the first Arab-Israeli war. And after this war also, the Israel occupied a lot of area like certain states of Lebanon, etc. And the war left historic Palestine divided into three parts. The 1949 armistice gave Israel control over 77% of territory. You see here it was the complete control of Palestine, and now around 77% of area is being controlled by Israel itself. In 1956, Suez crisis happened, the blockades of Suez happened. In 1967, the Six-Day War that involves Israel fighting against three Arab states, Egypt, Jordan and Syria. It resulted in Israel claiming control over Gaza and strategic Sinai Peninsula from the Egypt, West Bank from Jordan, Golan Heights from Syria, as well as East Jerusalem. And in present 2012, the Gaza expulsion plan as part of unilateral disengagement initiative, the Israeli Defense Forces leaves the Gaza Strip and 4 settlements in northern Western Bank here. And then Israeli launched a massive air campaign on Gaza with declared goal of deterring Hamas, and Palestinian submit a proposal for the membership and statehood to the UN. As of now, also the Israel-Hamas situation, when in the October 2023 they were attacked. So after that also Israel launched various attacks, especially in the Gaza area. They also gone for the blockade, and majorly they were saying that they were taking against the Hamas. Now, what is the impact on Israel and Palestine, the recent recognition that is happening? The global image and legitimacy. The recognition is challenging Israel's international legitimacy. The position that Israel has continued to maintain, that is getting challenged. Also, it is reinforcing view of Israel as military occupation power, because now when other countries are recognizing that this Palestine is one of the states, and now that is being militarily occupied or controlled by the Israel, that is making their claim illegitimate. But there is no strategic shift, because recognition doesn't weaken Israel's ground position, whether it is the military capacity, whether it is the political control, or whether it is the administrative hold over the Palestinian territories, the area that is occupied by the Israel. It is just a symbolic win. With practical limits, around 139 countries out of 193 are supporting the idea. The Israel political dominance in the region, including its influence over the international relations and policies, won't be diminished, as well as Israel's administrative control like checkpoints, governance in occupied areas, law enforcement in certain areas. It will still continue unless actively challenged or changed through the agreement or the force. Now, the true statehood that is blocked by the Israel occupation, also it is protected by the US support, because until and unless there will be an UN Security Council approval, the full statehood cannot be given, and the veto power that are given to the permanent members, that will further limit this full statehood. So no full UN membership until and unless UL will also support that idea. Also, no real change on the ground, occupation, settlements and the blockades will continue, as well as these recognition will have limited legal or enforcement power to alter the actions that will be taken by the Israel. Now, what is the India's stand on Israel-Palestine conflict? So, early support for the Palestine. India opposed the 1947 UN partition plan because India was also against the colonial occupation, echoing its own anti-colonial stance. And India also recognized Israel in 1950. India was first non-Arab country to recognize Palestinian Liberation Organization as the sole representative of Palestinian. So India was kind of managing both the stands, that we were also supporting Palestine, we were also recognizing as well as supporting Israel, and we were first to recognize Palestinian statehood in year 1989. And also we shifted to dehyphenated policy, that initially we were pro-Palestine for decades, but now we balances ties with the both Israel and Palestine independent. Instead of idealism, we are moving towards realism. We are moving to that direction, that our interest, our own energy security, our own military security is of utmost importance, rather than supporting any one particular country out of just emotions or historical linkages. And relationship with Israel is growing stronger, whether it is the trade between both the countries. For example, India exports the petroleum products, engineering goods, gems and jewelries. India is one of the major importer of defense equipments from Israel, like the drones, etc., Harpoon, Herop, etc., that were used in Operation Sindoor also. The current position is that India supports two-state solution, and India advocates peaceful coexistence and right to self-determination for both the sides. And these are the weapons that were used by India and that are imported from Israeli. For example, the Spike, anti-tank guided missile, Tavor, TAR-21, Spider, Harop, and the Heron drones, etc. Also, if you look into the two-state solution which India is supporting, India was supporting two-state solution. What exactly is that two-state solution? Here, this was UN partition plan for the Palestine. Under this, two independent states will be created, Israel and Palestine, living side by side in peace without any interference, without any disturbance. Then the mutual recognition, that Israel recognizes Palestine, Palestine accepts Israel's right to exist. Both will be accepting the demands or the components that are given under the UN partition plan. And the capital, the East Jerusalem, become the capital of Palestine, and the global support, that is, it will be seen by the UN and others as the most viable path to the lasting peace. In India as well as various other countries also supported this two independent state or two-state solution, and that was one of the question in prelims 2018 also. Also, if you look into the evolution of India-Israel relation, so the diplomatic relation, that India recognized Israel in 1950, but full diplomatic ties started from January 1992 under the Prime Minister VP Singh. Also, the economic ties significantly improved with bilateral trade around $6.53 billion in financial year 23-24, as well as India has a trade surplus out of various commodities that we are exporting to Israel, like engineering goods, petroleum products, gems and jewelries, as well as various agricultural products. Innovation and technology, that India and Israel Industrial Research and Development and Innovation Fund that has been established. Also, if you look into the India, it is around spending 0.6 to 0.7% of its GDP on the research and development, whereas Israel is spending more than 6% on research and development, and that is the reason you see the advancements that they have done, whether on the water management, whether they have done on agriculture, or majorly what they have done on the military front. Also, the regional cooperation, I2U2 partnership, India, Israel, UAE, US, that has significantly helped in improving the relation between these Arab countries, as well as this has also helped in improving the trade between these countries. First summit happened in 2022, and also there was a mains question that was asked in GS paper 2 related to I2U2. Also, it is helping in regional collaboration, and in the time where the world is further moving towards protectionist, these partnerships can also help in improving the trade, as well as it also at the time when it was introduced, it was said that with Quad grouping, which was a strategic group comprising US, India, Japan and Australia, which was a strong response to aggressive Chinese regime, the I2U2 that will also help in the free and open Indo-Pacific, as well as it will help in improving the trade. Also the defense cooperation, that India is the major importer. Around 40% of Israel arms exports are coming to India itself. For example, Barak 8 missile that was co-developed by India and Israel, regular port calls at Haifa, and Haifa is also now the investments of Adani ports etc. are also witnessed in Haifa. The cultural exchange programs, the various seats that are reserved to the Israeli students in Indian universities, the health cooperation, the MOUs that were signed on agriculture as well as on water management. So what is the path ahead, or what is the way forward? So we need peaceful resolution, because whenever a conflict will happen in any part of the world, that will not be limited to that area itself. Rather, with the globalization, whole world will be impacted. For example, when the Israel-Hamas situation started, or Iran-Israel skirmishes happened, it impacted the stock markets of India also. It created supply chain disruptions in overall global trade, and that is the reason we need to have a global push for diplomatic solution rather than military related solution. Also, we need to balance ties with Israel and Arab nations. For us, both are important. For example, Israel is needed for technology as well as imports of arms etc. Arab nations are also needed for our energy security, the crude oil, gas etc. that we are importing. Also, the Abraham Accords can act as a model. Here, with the Abraham Accords, the diplomatic ties of Israel with some of the Arab countries significantly improved. That can act as a model for further diplomatic push, which can normalize the relation between Israel and Palestine. And that shows the proof of peaceful existence, that from between Israel and Arab countries there can be a peaceful existence. Also, India's strategic stand that we will be following a dehyphenated policies, that we will be maintaining ties with both Israel and Palestine. And also we support the two-state solution, that is the diplomatic solution with the help of which the territories will be divided between Israel and Palestine, as well as mutual recognition of both the countries. Also, India emphasizes peace, coexistence, self-determination, and we also are against the violence that is happening in these areas. India in the global forums, for example, India was non-permanent member in United Nations Security Council and probably will have again a seat in 2028-29. We had a seat in UNHRC from 2020 to 24. We are also part of various other multilateral organizations. So this with our presence in such areas, in such organizations, we can push for the diplomatic solutions, and that can actually bring us to being a neutral mediator, and we can actually provide solutions. Also, we can promote dialogue, security, cooperation in West Asia, because these were the areas which are impacted by conflict, which are impacted by various disruptions in last few decades as well as in century. So they are very important for overall global peace, and this is a mains practice question that you people can write from this topic. So in simplified section, first topic is huge scope for Indian tea sector, and this is related to your GS paper 3, agriculture resources and cropping patterns, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 13. So the executive director of International Tea Committee said that India has all the ingredients to become the superpower of tea industry, and he said that India was the second largest producer and consumer of tea and the third largest exporter. Of the total global tea output, 7.074 billion kilogram and consumption of 6.97 billion kilogram in 2024 was done by India. And India produced around 1.303 billion kilogram and consumed 1.22 billion kilogram. Assam, West Bengal, etc. are the states who are the leading producer of tea. Also on export, Kenya, which is the largest exporter of tea, ships almost entire quantity it produces, and the China, the second largest exporter. So Kenya, although being one of the largest producer, is not one of the significant consumer of tea. Also, Sri Lanka shipped 245 million kilogram worth of $1.4 billion. India's export has been around 255 million kilogram, worth around $800 million, which is less than even the Sri Lanka's export. And India should focus on the quality to get better realization and export newer markets such as South America and Africa. For example, there is a white tea which is much costlier. But the quality of tea which is being produced in India, that is not demanded in the global market. We do not have competitive advantage. Majority of them is being consumed by the domestic Indian market itself. So with better quality, with better availability of the products, our products competitiveness will improve, as well as the industry will grow significantly. On domestic front, India consumers are increasingly willing to pay more for quality. While India's per capita consumption is 840 gram in a year, Turkey's per capita consumption of 3 kg a year is the highest globally. That shows that we do have a potential, we do have a scope from the domestic market. Also, if you look into one of the questions that was asked in prelims 2020, that was related to cotton crop. And UPSC has already asked about sugarcane, jute, coffee. So there may be a question on tea also. And you can see some of the statements are directly copied from the NCERT itself. That also gives the answer of your question, that what is the sources of the prelims question. Now, what are the requirements for tea? They require 28 to 32 degrees Celsius of temperature. They require warm, moist, frost-free with frequent as well as evenly distributed showers, and over 150 centimeter of rainfall is required annually. The standing water is harmful because it blocks the oxygen that is required by the roots of tea, and more than 80% of humidity is required, with heavy rainfall as well as well-drained laterite soil which is rich in humus or organic content is needed by tea, and it can be cultivated year round and majorly in tropical and subtropical climatic regions. Also, this is a plantation crop which is labor intensive, because for plucking and etc. labors are required, manual labor is required, and the chemical content that are found in tea is caffeine and tannin. Terrace farming is majorly used, and that is also followed at the hill slopes. Major cultivation areas, production areas are Assam, West Bengal and Tamil Nadu, and globally it is the Kenya which is one of the major producers. Now you can see there was a question related to tea board. In year 2022, let's try to also look into some information about different commodity boards. The tea board headquarter is in Kolkata. It was formed in year 1953, and it is a statutory body. The governing act is Tea Act 1953. These all boards are statutory bodies which are established by an act of parliament. Coffee board, again headquarter is Bangalore, established in 1942 with Coffee Act 1942. Rubber board, Kottayam in 1947, Rubber Act 1947 is the governing act. Spices board with headquarter at Kochi, Kerala, 1987 it was formed. And tobacco board with the headquarter in Guntur, Andhra Pradesh, and it was formed in year 1975. It is again a statutory body. Also, the recent boards like turmeric board, which with a headquarter in Nizamabad, Telangana, or the Makhana board, they are not statutory bodies since they are not established by any act of the parliament. Also, with the help of this information, can we solve this question? Yes, please answer this question in the comment box. Next topic is that rupee hits record low of 88.75 against US dollar. This is related to your GS paper 3, trade, growth and development, and this has appeared in today's Indian Express page number 15. So the Indian rupee plunged to a record low of 88.75 against the US dollar on Tuesday amid worries over US administration's decision to hike H-1B visa free for new application and continued outflow by foreign portfolio investors. So whenever FPI investors are leaving India, so obviously they are supplying Indian rupees and they are demanding dollar. So let's suppose earlier $1 equal to 50 rupees was the case, but now with the case of rupee depreciation, now $1 became $1 became 100 rupees. This is the case of rupee depreciation where rupee is losing its value. Now if foreign portfolio investors are leaving India, they will be again supplying Indian rupees and they are demanding the dollars. Again, that will limit the supply of dollar and it will increase the supply of Indian rupees. That will further lead to rupee losing its value, the case of rupee depreciation. Plus, with the people, the Indian diaspora who is working abroad, the remittances that they were sending back, that was also one of the significant resource for dollars in India. But with certain restrictions that are imposed, for example, the H-1B visa application fee was increased from $1,000 to $1 lakh. Obviously, that will limit the chances of people to be employed in foreign, and that will also hinder the remittances flow to India, and that is further increasing the chances of the rupee depreciation or rupee losing its value, because remittances or the supply of dollar will be hindered. And if you look into the other structural causes of the rupee depreciation, the widening trade deficit, for example, the India-China trade gap, that is around $99.2 billion in year 2024-25. Also, India has trade deficit with 9 countries out of its top 10 trading partners in year 2023-24. When we have trade deficit, it means we are giving more dollars from our pocket. That is further leading to rupee depreciation. Also, the heavy dependence on energy imports. Around 85% of our crude oil needs are being fulfilled by import itself. With change in the crude oil prices, or with high dependency where we have to give dollars to pay to these crude oils that we are importing, again that diminishes the number of dollars that are present in India, and that will further lead to case of rupee depreciation. Also, the limited export diversification, the limited markets that we have, plus the quality of our products that is not very competitive. So when our products are not competitive, means we are not able to sell our product in global market, and we are not able to earn dollars, and that is again further limiting the availability of the dollars and consistently leading to case of rupee depreciation. With more trade competitiveness, with better markets, either by signing trade agreements like free trade agreement, etc., with better market access, we will be earning more dollars, and that can help in limiting the case of rupee depreciation, that can make the rupee stronger as compared to US dollar. Also the capital outflows amid the global rate hikes. For example, with the US Fed hikes, the outflow, the foreign portfolio investors who are selling their investment, that is also leading to case of rupee depreciation. And the low export competitiveness and the weak this global value chain integration, that our products are not competitive at the global level, whether it is the quality concerns, the lack of proper sanitary and the phytosanitary measures that we are following. For example, Everest and MDH masala was sent back by Hong Kong, Singapore and European Union. So when our products are not competitive, plus we are not adhering to the quality norms. For example, our cough syrup led to death of certain child in African nations. So when it is creating a negative image, obviously the competitiveness will be further diminished. So what is the macroeconomic implications of rupee depreciation? The imported inflation surge, that is high prices of crude oil, fertilizers and edible oils. For example, earlier, let's suppose we are getting any particular 1 barrel of crude oil, let's suppose in $1, and we were paying 50 rupees from our pocket. But by the rupee depreciation, we will be paying 100 rupees from our pocket, and only at the point where the prices of crude oil is only $1 per barrel, means we are effectively paying more money in rupee terms from our pockets. Also, we need to understand that we are dependent on certain other commodities like fertilizers, edible oils, then pulses, etc. So with rupee depreciation, again our import bill will be rising, and when we are paying high prices for the imports, that will also cause the imported inflation. High price of the crude oils, that means high prices for petrol and diesel, that means high prices for transportation, as well as that high cost of transportation will be passed on to the sectors which are using transportation services, and that will lead to obviously the case of imported inflation, where inflation is increasing because of increase in import bill or increase in import prices. There will be increased fiscal deficit pressures. For example, there will be more spending on subsidies and there will be reduction on the welfare funds. For example, government may spend some money to ensure that people are getting petrol and diesel at the same price at which they were getting earlier. Also, rising external debt servicing cost. For example, India's external debt is at $7.9 billion in December 2024. With rupee depreciation, our burden will further increase. Also, the forex reserve depletion due to RBI intervention, where RBI will be flushing out dollars in the markets. In that case, forex reserve will deplete, and that will also reduce the coverage of our imports with regard to the forex that we have. Also, decline in investor confidence and the market volatility, and that may also impact the overall the ratings of India, which are given by S&P and other credit rating agencies, and that might further lead to outflow of money from Indian stock exchange or Indian capital markets. Next topic is penalty in proportion. This is related to your GS paper 2. Parliament, state legislatures, executive fundamental rights, etc. And this has appeared in today's Hindu editorial page. So when the Supreme Court of India upheld the validity of criminal defamation in Subramaniam Swamy 2016, they said that reasoning was given that reputation is part of right to life under Article 21 of the Constitution, which is a fundamental right under Part 3 of the Constitution. When the Supreme Court said that right to privacy is part of right to life and liberty under Article 21 of the Constitution, that was one of the questions that was asked in the prelims examination. When Supreme Court said that right to marriage is again part of right to life and liberty in Hadia case, again that was one of the question in prelims examination. So this can be also one of the potential question in next year. But when the Supreme Court gave this judgment, they may not have anticipated the difficulties of this position and the number of petitions that might be filed in various courts with regard to the defamation. On September 2022, the criminal defamation proceedings against the Foundation for Independent Journalism, Justice M.M. Sundaresh of court voiced his unease at the growing use of criminal defamation proceedings by private individuals and political actors as an insurance against criticism and as a means of retribution. Because a constructive criticism can be also part of right to freedom of speech and expression under Article 19. Also, his observation echoes a broader judicial anxiety that was also expressed in the recent proceedings against Rahul Gandhi, Shashi Tharoor and other public figures. The criminal defamation proposes imprisonment for speech that injures reputation, a remedy that is disproportionate to the harm that is caused. Unlike the physical harm, reputational injury can be addressed by the monetary damages or injunctions. While protecting dignity may justify strong safeguard, protecting reputation seldom warrants the criminal punishment. Now, what exactly is the defamation? That means harming someone's reputation by making a false derogatory statement against him or her without any lawful justification. It can be spoken word or written words. And to constitute defamation, publication of alleged statement is must. For example, it was written on social media, it was published in newspaper, etc. And the criminal defamation is codified in IPC section 4499 and this is under section 356 of BNS. An intention to harm reputation is must for an act to qualify as criminal defamation. Even truth is not complete defense. It is imperative to prove that the alleged defamatory statement was made for a public good, not to harm the private individual. So, criminal defamation can be libel or slander, that is through writing or a spoken word, based on tort law, that is law imposing a civil liability. Punishable with financial compensation, damages are computed based on the probabilities, the damages that might happen in future. In criminal cases, the defamation must be proven beyond reasonable doubt. Section 499 of IPC or Section 356 of BNS covers this under which it is said that whoever by words or by signs or by visible representation makes or publishes any imputation concerning any person intending to harm the reputation of such person is said to defame that person. And criminal defamation can attract jail term up to 2 years or fine or both of these things, that is jail terms and the fine. Next topic is Mohenjodaro dancing girl. This is related to GS paper 1 Indian art forms and this has appeared in today's Indian Express page number 5. So a 45-year-old professor from Ashoka University in Haryana, Sonipat, was booked for allegedly stealing a replica of famous Mohenjodaro dancing girl from the National Museum in Delhi. Also, this 45-year-old bronze figurine of dancing girl was excavated in 1926 from Mohenjodaro, just 10.5 centimeter in height. The figurine is dark and completely in nude with the exception of multiple bangle and necklaces. So the Indus Valley civilization is from 1300 to 1300 BC and the mature phase of this is from 2600 to 1900 BC. Also, it was mainly discovered in 1924 and it is comparable to some of the other global civilization like Mesopotamian civilization or Egyptian civilization. The major sites under the Indus Valley civilization are, for example, Harappa, Mohenjodaro, Rakhigadi, Dholavira, etc. This is the map that you can remember because these you can see the number of questions that are asked from this particular topic. In last 5-6 years itself, UPSC has asked more than 2-3 questions. In year 2025 itself, they have asked 1 question. Also, the excavations post 1924 give us major evidences. The dancing girl was found in 1926 by Ernest Mackay, and this dancing girl is a bronze artifact, and this is one of the questions that was asked, that the famous female figurine known as dancing girl found at Mohenjodaro is made up of bronze. This was 2025 question directly from NCERT. Also, it is made using the lost wax technique and it symbolizes the Harappan artistic skill as well as the cultural richness, the technology, high level of technology that they were incorporating. And the realistic details are praised by historian A.L. Bhasam, who also wrote the book The Wonder That It Was India. And it is kept in Indian National Museum despite Mohenjodaro being in Pakistan, that dancing girl figurine. Also under this lost wax technique, the wax model is covered in mold and then heat is provided and that wax melted out. The molten metal is poured into the cavity and then the mold is removed after the cooling, because initially it is easy to mold the wax and it is easy to provide shape. After it also enables the precise detailed metal castings, and modern technologies like 3D printing improves the process to a much better scale. Also, these are the sites. For example, Harappa was excavated by Dayaram Sahni in 1921, Mohenjodaro by R.D. Banerjee in 1922, and the important findings in Mohenjodaro are Great Bath, granaries, bronze dancing girl, seal of Pashupati, and then the statue of Beard Man, piece of woman cloth. Then from Dholavira we get the water harnessing system, water reservoir, as well as from Sutkange Indore, it was excavated by Stein in 1921. From Chahudaro we get bead maker's shop, footprint of dog chasing a cat, and it was N.G. Majumdar who excavated in 1931. This is the figure of the dancing girl, and these are the sites that you can remember. From this particular information, this was the 2021 question that was about the water harvesting and management system. That is Dholavira. And which one of the following is not a Harappan site? Please look into this map and answer this question in the comment box. Next topic is that India to hold mega drone drill cold start next month, and this is related to your GS paper 3 defense, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 10. So the Army, Navy and Air Force will conduct a joint exercise in the first week of October to test drones and counter drone system, and name is Cold Start, and it is likely to held in Madhya Pradesh. The official describes it as the biggest such drill to be conducted since Operation Sindoor, and this is mainly to assess the effectiveness and the shortcomings of Indian defense forces against the air defense capabilities, or with regard to the air defense capabilities, and it is mainly to counter UAVs and the other modern technologies that are used in modern warfare, what was witnessed in the aftermath of Operation Sindoor, which was launched by India, the swarm of drones that India faced from the Pakistani territory. And as of now, that it was said by the Chief of Integrated Defence Staff, Air Marshal Ashutosh Dikshit. He said that our adversary Pakistan is also working on the technology, on the modern warfare, etc. And that is the reason we also need to assess our capabilities and improve accordingly as the need may be. What are the different types of drone? For example, surveillance and reconnaissance drones are there. We have Tapas, we have Rustam, we have Hiron. Hiron is provided by Israel. Then we have the armed combat drones, for example DRDO's Ghatak, which is under development, and it will be fueled, it will be provided power by Kaveri engine. Then Hiron TP, again it is from the Israel itself. Then the loitering munitions, which are designed to loiter, to move over the target and then strike when the target is identifying, and this is kind of suicidal drones, that they will be also killing themselves in the process of killing that target or hitting that target. India has Nagashtra, that is made by Solar Industries and J Motion, Warmate, which is Polish origin. Then we have the commercial modified civil drones, swarm drones, that is multiple drones that operate in coordination to overwhelm the enemy defense, that the defense is not able to address a lot of drones because a lot of drones are sent in a coordinated manner, and DRDO and private firms are working on swarm drones technology. This is all from today's Analyst. Thank you very much. All the very best. Keep studying.